You're listening to the Afro Chi Podcast, a show for my fellow Black female energy healers and the everyday woman who wants to heal her energy in a creative and holistic way. You'll hear from Black female healers who share their knowledge, gifts, and experiences and enlighten you on how to tap into your powerful Black energy to get the results you need to live an energetically free life. If you're ready to become unstuck, find freedom and peace energetically, stay tuned. I'm your host, Kiera Flipping. Today, I am looking forward to learning about cord cutting. Our guest today is the owner of The Power of Tree and offers tarot readings, in-person and distant energy healing, yoga, and a host of spiritual tools. You can find her online at thepoweroftr3.com. Here to educate us about cord cutting is Tiara of The Power of Tree. How are you?
Hello. Hi, I am good. Thank you for having me today.
Yes, I am so excited for myself as well as the listeners to learn about cord cutting. For some, this may be the first time they've actually heard of the term cord cutting, or maybe some people have heard of it, but they're not really sure what is all entailed in cord cutting. So just to get us started, can you first explain to us what the heck is cord cutting?
Yes, absolutely. And I can understand how that sounds just so strange. Like, what kind of cords are we cutting? What is going on? So we have these etheric cords that connect us to everything on the planet. And sometimes you even can get a glance at them, especially within your closest relationships, the most meaningful ones that you have. So if you've ever heard of that term hookup, like I'm going to go hook up with someone.
Yes.
That is literal. So every time we get with someone else and create some sort of bond, whether it's sexual, whether it's just emotional, we activate an energetic cord with them. So the longer that you're in that relationship, the more you add to that cord. I mean, thoughts, emotions, interactions, just everything. It's a shared energy.
Wow.
So it's almost like a highway frequency of communication between you and that person, right? So that's how sometimes you can feel your partner. If they're thinking about you, you're thinking about them, they call, that sort of thing. It's because we're actually connected spiritually.
Wow.
And so, so these cords that we connect to with everything, they're usually very, very healthy cords. You know, we feed each other, we communicate with each other through them. They're just invisible. So we don't really, we don't, know that they're there. Not a lot of us do, at least.
Wow. So even like ex relationships, like even when we break up with somebody, like our cords can still be connected?
Oh, definitely. Exactly.
Wow.
And that is the whole meaning of the cord cutting.
Okay. Wow. So what happens like in a cord cutting session? Like when people come to get their cords cut, what does that look like?
So with me, okay, it can look any way, honestly. I mean, if you have an intent to cut a cord, you can do it by yourself, to be honest. But if you're going to do it with someone else, I always like to perform a ritual, because when two or more people come together with the same intent, that power is amplified. And so you really want to have at least one other person there with you, just to witness if they're not going to be a part of it. But for me personally, I like to begin with a meditation, because I like for us to get clear and to set an intent, so that we know that we're here for a purpose and we have power behind that purpose.
Okay.
And then afterwards, I like to call on my guides and my angels. I bring in Archangel Michael, because he's notorious with his giant sword to help sever ties with things that are no longer serving us. I also call on Archangel Raphael, because he is the healer. So I like to bring in that extra element of, yes, we're going to cut these cords, but then at the same time, we're going to heal, because this is not just something that you let go easily. You've had an emotional attachment with someone, and we want to heal those bonds for both parties, not just for you and not just for them. So I like to add that extra kind of healing and protective measure. And then I get us a string. It's so like, it sounds so simple, and it is. You get a string, tie your name on one end, tie their name on the other, and then you set an intent. Sometimes we'll create a mantra together, like to say, I'm actively releasing this energetic attachment, and then I let you cut that cord. And as soon as that tie is severed, that represents that cord being released from your being. And it's really, really powerful stuff. So once we do the cord cutting and we cut that cord, we burn the name just to alchemize it, just to kind of transfer that energy, transmute it, so that it's not a negative thing, because it's never negative. We always want to heal, and by healing ourselves, we heal each other. So we're sending love and light to this person that we're disconnecting to. And then we ground down, do another meditation, and end with a little bit of Reiki. So that way we can, again, promote that healing, promote that sealing of the energy, and just trying to call your power back to you.
Hey Queens, isn't this such a great episode? Be sure to check out the Afro Chi Healers Directory, where you can find healers in your area offering similar services to the guests on today's podcast. If you are a healer, please be sure to join the directory so that Black women can locate your healing services and offerings. To join and view the directory, please visit afroqi.com. Okay, let's jump back into this episode.
I love to hear that it's deeper than just the person that's coming in for the cord cutting, that you also send love and light and positive energy to the person that they're trying to break away from. Like, yeah. That's super sweet. That's so considerate.
Right. And a lot of people are like, what? I don't really want to do that. But at the end of the day, everyone comes into our lives for a divine purpose, and they help you grow. And then they brought you a lesson, and you needed that at that time. So it should never be any harsh energy between anyone. It should always be love, because they brought you some form of love, whether it was hard to handle or not.
Beautiful. That is so beautiful. How, for somebody listening, and it's like, okay, like this sounds cool, this sounds interesting, but how can somebody know, or how can they tell when they should consider cord cutting? Like, is it something you feel, or how can somebody know, like, okay, let me hit up Tiara because I need to cut some cords?
Definitely. That is such a great question. So when you have a healthy cord with someone, you have a positive and uplifting exchange with them, and you're not pining over them. You're not feeling like you're obsessing over them. Once you start feeling your energy being pulled in a very sort of attached kind of way to someone, you can almost instantly know that it's time for you to kind of break some negative patterns there. It's an unhealthy exchange at that point. So when you start feeling fear-based thoughts surrounding that person, manipulation, or if you start feeling control, then it's time for you to maybe think about, hey, I might need to cut some cords and break some patterns that are not feeling too healthy for me right now.
Okay. So let me make sure that I'm understanding. So people can receive cord cutting even if they're cutting the cords of somebody who's actively in their life. So say a sibling or a parent or a partner, like it doesn't have to be somebody that you no longer want to be in relationship with. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's true. So it can go both ways. If you are in a relationship though with someone and you feel that unhealthy attachment and you actively cut that cord, it doesn't mean that that person is willing to let go of that negativity that they've been kind of pulling from your cord. So if you're still with these people and you're still allowing them in your life, that cord can reconnect. You can start feeding that energy again. And once you do, then the cord cutting is kind of irrelevant at that point. You have to do it again. So my advice, if you're in a relationship and you want to do something like that, you need to come to your partner first and talk it out with them. have an honest, streamlined communication with them about how you're feeling, and then come together to actively cut the cord to work toward a more positive relationship in the long run, as opposed to doing it just on a one-sided thing, because you're going to 9 times out of 10 reattach that cord.
Okay. Okay. What about like for parents or siblings or family members that somebody is feeling that maybe pulling them or draining them or, you know, whatever, and it's just not a positive relationship and they want to cut that cord? Can they receive cord cutting and still be in relationship? Like, but maybe from that point after the cord cutting ceremony to then try to engage in a healthier relationship?
Yes.
Or is it
definitely.
just cord cutting means bye boo boo? Like you are gone out of my life. Sayonara.
No, definitely.
Okay.
That is a great question. So I actually recently just cut cords with my parents, both of them.
Okay.
And although I've cut that cord, it's brought my power back to me as an individual, but I still have love for my parents, of course. So I have boundaries now with them.
Okay.
So I don't let them impede in on my energy when I start to feel like here comes that attachment, or here comes that manipulation, or here comes them trying to control me. No, my guard comes up. And I do not let that cord get reattached. How you allow it to become reattached is when you give in to the manipulation and you give in to the control. Then you're reattaching that cord and allowing them to kind of enter back into your space.
Okay.
And that is what you want to avoid. So you can, with your siblings, even friends, if you have friends that you feel like might be kind of manipulating you or just a little bit overbearing, you can cut those cords, but you have to make sure that you set up those proper boundaries afterwards so that you don't allow them to come back in and reattach, because obviously they're going to be in your life still. They're your family or your parents. But it doesn't mean that they have to control you. And another thing is also this whole idea that we have about systematic just family units is very, very much an illusion. We choose our parents, right, to birth us. We have these contracts with everyone, but our relationships to our family and our loved ones, they're not what they make it in our society. You don't have to be in a relationship with your mother and your father, and you don't have to have that family unit. Like, they try to make it feel like this is all an individual experience that we are each having.
Absolutely.
And
especially when it's not healthy, right?
Like, yes, exactly.
You know, like you wouldn't still be in relationship with a partner or a friend if they were manipulative and disrespectful and draining and whatever. So why do you feel that you have to do that with family? So
exactly.
Girl, that is a great topic. I'm gonna have you on again so we can go over that. Like, that is a whole podcast episode within
right. I'm so sorry to segue, but no. That out there.
But no, that's deep. That somebody needed to hear that. You just freed somebody. So somebody needed to hear that. Somebody was thinking that and feeling that, and you just validated them. So thank you for that. And it's very true. It is very, very true. And, you know, for me as a counselor, as a therapist, I sometimes hear women, they'll enter into new relationships, but energetically, they feel like they're still carrying that same energy, like from their ex. Like, so I'm wondering, would cord cutting be good for them? Like, if you want to just start fresh, start a new relationship and not bring that same energy with you into this new relationship or this new job. Maybe you're leaving a toxic work environment, leaving a toxic boss or a toxic coworker, and you're entering into a new workspace. Is it correct to say like you can use cord cutting for that as well? Like to detach yourself from that? Okay.
Yes. So that is actually why I did it in the first place.
Let's hear your journey. Yes. I want to hear your journey.
Just a little bit. It's a long journey.
Okay. All right.
I just wanted a fresh start. And I felt like I had, these attachments that were holding me down, and I was carrying it into my current relationship. And I realized I was taking out a lot of my past and childhood traumas on my husband, who was is unnecessarily braving the brunt of all of the things that were coming up for me because of attachments that I was still holding on from childhood from past relationships, from past friendships. And I got to a point where I was like, this is not me. And I could feel it was not me. And I knew something was wrong. Yeah. So I had to start researching. I had to start looking into ways to spiritually just disconnect from my past trauma and the people who caused it. So I was looking up ways to kind of protect my energy. How can I protect my energy? What can I do? Because I knew there was something off. And I stumbled upon ethereal cords. That was the first thing. And not the cord cutting specifically, just the cords. So I realized that we have these connections to people, and that all in of itself made sense. And I was like, okay, that I feel that I'm still being pulled in other ways from my family members, and they still have this this thumb under me, you know? So I looked into how to disconnect that cord. Like, I don't want this anymore. And I stumbled upon cord cutting. And what I found out is that it brought me peace. It helped me let go. It brought me a new, more positive outlook on my life. And to be honest, it helped me take my power back. And that is the most profound thing that I was wanting, that I was looking for. And it did exactly that.
I love that you say that. You've said that a couple of times about taking your power back. I'm not sure if a lot of people are really aware of how much power they give other people over their lives, you know?
Correct. Yes.
I don't think a lot of people understand that. Like, you may hear them say, like, yeah, I'm not going to give you that energy. But you are, though. Like, you are allowing them to take your power. So I love that from this cord cutting ceremony, this ritual, this practice, that you can gain your power back. I love that. I love that you say that. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'm glad that you went into, some specifics of how you felt once you discovered it and started engaging in cord cutting. Because I was going to ask you that, like, for the women that are listening, like, what can they expect to feel after cord cutting? Like, what can they expect to experience, to feel within themselves?
So that's also a great question, because initially when you get a cord cutting, you feel kind of like a train wreck. I'm not going to lie. The first couple of days are hard. And that's because you had this connection with this person for, it could have been a long time, maybe even a short amount of time. Regardless, though, you guys were feeding each other energy. And whether you were actively doing it or not, it was being transferred. And once we cut that cord, that energy dissipates. So it takes a moment for your body to catch up with the fact that you are no longer connected energetically to this person, and you can feel very drained for the first few days. You are very dehydrated. You feel very tired. But once your power starts to restore and replenish, then by the end of the week, it's usually about 7 days, you start feeling like unstoppable. Like, there's this overall sense of well-being. You feel in control. You feel clarity. You feel power. And so it's worth the initial hit, because that is just a way for our bodies to kind of calibrate what's going on.
Yeah. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like somebody getting a detox, or like going through some sort of like a detox. Like, you feel tired and drained, but then once your body flushes and detox, you have like this boost of energy, and like you can do anything. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yes, I love that. I love that. That's exactly what you're doing, essentially. You're energetically detoxing. And so it's going to feel a little harsh at first, but once you get through that couple of days, it's like, yes, I'm so glad I did this.
Yeah, I love it.
Something else too that you can also expect, that this is really important. And once you cut the cord with someone, they will feel that, and the other
person will feel it.
They will, and they won't really understand it, but they will feel that energy getting pulled away, and you will come into their mind, and they will try to reach out. And this happened to me too. It happens every single time I've done it. So just make sure that when they reach out, you set your boundaries. Send them love, of course, but they might reach out in the oddest of way, through a third party. Like when I cut the cord through my mother and my father, I actually did that recently. My aunt reached out to me on their behalf. So it was someone else this time, third party, like they were trying to trick me or something. And I was like, no, I know what's going on.
Yep.
But it's all about just keeping that boundary that you set for yourself and remembering your intent as to why you did it, because otherwise they will try to reconnect that cord just so that they can get that energy back. And it's never, well, not always, but sometimes it's not maleficent.
Okay.
Sometimes it's not a thing that they're doing to try to harm you. It's just because they had that energy and it was boosting them up. And now that it's being pulled away, they're going to feel something's gone. Something's been taken from me and they want it back. So it's going to be up to you to kind of protect that space. Protect that space you created for yourself.
I love that. I think of like energy leeches, like people that just try to suck the life out of you. So it's like you're cutting that cord. It's like, I am no longer energetically feeding you. Exactly. So they feel hungry. They feel starved. It's like, hold on, wait, where's my energy source? Where's that person that I used to suck the life out of? Oh no, they're breaking away from me. They're cutting away from me. So that's really interesting. That really goes to show, what's the word I'm looking for? It just goes to show how deep energy is, that you go to this ceremony, you go to this service, you cut the cord, but they can energetically feel you breaking free of them. And they feel some type of way, and they want their source back. So I love that advice that you give to set those boundaries. And I love that intention that when you're going into cord cutting, you should already go into it with the notion of, like, this is what I'm breaking free of, and go ahead and set those boundaries up now with the expectation that they could potentially try to reach back out to you. So how are you going to now safeguard your energy?
Exactly.
I love it. And I like when you mentioned that people can cut their own cords. Would you recommend that? Would you recommend people cutting their own cords, or would you recommend them seeing like a intuitive specialist or something like that, or somebody that works in cord cutting like yourself? Or would you recommend people try to do it on their own?
So I highly, highly recommend seeing a professional, just because, like I said earlier, when you have that intent amplified, for one, it's a lot more powerful. The space is more sacred. You're more guarded and protected. But I'm also very, very avid about doing things on your own if you have to. And if you have some cords that need to be cut and you can't find anyone, you can definitely perform this on yourself. Create that sacred space for yourself and release those ties. It's just when you do it on your own, it's sometimes it doesn't feel as real. You sometimes need that other person to kind of push it for you, or and you might feel like, well, maybe I didn't do it right, or maybe I was supposed to do this and not that, and maybe it didn't work, and you start to doubt yourself. And so that's why I really do highly suggest seeing someone professional, because they can just bring that certainty to your heart. Yes, it got done. It's over. I feel it in my body. She feels it. We're good. It's over.
Yeah. Perfect.
Definitely to protect the space too, and your energy, because it's energy, and it's very, very, very powerful and potent, and it's not something you want to play around with. So if you don't know what you're doing, I highly suggest you research it first as deep as you can, because it is not anything to play around with.
And that segues into my next question. And first I want to say I agree with that, because with myself, I'm a Reiki master. And while I do Reiki on myself almost every day, I prefer to go to somebody else for them to do my Reiki. Like, I do. I like to lay on the table and get serviced. So I understand that. Like, you could do it yourself, but to go to somebody that specializes in cord cutting would be best if you can. Now, for other healers that are listening, other people that are listening that identify as a healer, maybe they do Reiki or yoga or whatever they may be into, or maybe they're just exploring areas of healing and want to consider offering cord cutting. Maybe they want to start offering it to themselves or to friends and family, or, you know, as a service to their clients that they're already seeing. How would you recommend they get started?
I would definitely recommend that they first start by researching. Looking into it. Once you set an intent that this is something that you want to do, you set that frequency out in motion.
Yeah.
And so the universe is going to start bringing it to you left and right. You're going to start getting things on your feed, on your pop-up. You're going to start running into people who need a cord cutting.
Yes.
So it's going to start coming into your life. So do the research. Find whatever you can on what it is that you're trying to do for the healing session. Set an intent. Be open about it. Be ready and take action when it's time. Don't be afraid. But honestly, once you set that intent to do something like this, the universe is going to conspire with you to get it done, because it's something that's needed. We need to kind of clear out that energetic gunk that we carry around with us. So the more healers that we can have out here helping people realize that it's there and then release it is going to be so wonderful. We need that.
Yeah.
So I highly encourage everyone to offer this in their sessions if they can, because it can be as simple as a meditation. And you don't even have to have a string and a chord and all of that. It can be you visualizing these chords with someone and then helping them detach themselves from them. And that can be it. And that also is very profound. That also heals. It works. So do your research, find out what works for you and your practice, and then start doing it.
Yeah. I love it. And especially for Black women, we just carry so much just on us, within us. We need to cut some cords. We need to cut some cords so we can move on and be well. And I love this. I love this. I am so excited for the listeners to reach out to you, to find a cord cutter in their area, to just really, 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 first of all, sit with themselves and think, like, who do I need to let go? Like, who do I need to cut myself energetically from? I think that's where it starts, because we move so fast through life, and you know, we're creatures of habit, and we may not even realize that this one person, 2 people, 3 people, who knows, is really sucking the life and draining us energetically, manipulating us, abusing us, and we don't even realize it. But when we do, it's our job to break that tie. It's our job to cut that cord. So I'm so thankful for you. I'm so thankful for other healers like you that are offering this service to really free people of these, I would say, unhealthy energetic ties.
Thank you. I am so grateful for you for having this podcast, because now we can get this out into the community so they can start researching themselves, learning more about our spirituality. I mean, a lot of people are already starting to awaken to their truths. And once you start awakening and you start realizing, then you can start healing. And that is the best part of the journey, is the healing journey. And once you start healing and taking your power back, oh my gosh, it's a wrap after that.
It is a wrap.
So this is so wonderful that you're doing this, because our people need it. We have a lot that we carry, and not just from our own lives, but we have ancestral baggage. We have ancestral karma. And letting all of these things go is the first step toward finding our inner sanctity, our inner sanctuary, rediscovering our sacred womanhood. And not just for women, but men too. But it's just really, really important that we take these steps and we start learning about how to disconnect from the things that are no longer serving us.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Tiara. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, anytime. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to be here. And if anyone has any questions, they can always feel free to reach out on any of my social media accounts. Excuse me, I am really good at responding to DMs, not so much emails.
Okay.
Throw that out there.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome, and thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Afro Chi podcast. Be sure to visit our website at afroqi.com and on all social media platforms at The Afro QI. Subscribe to this podcast now so you never miss a show.